Welcome to the Sutlifian Report, the place where the news is never hidden and the truth always wins. Today we have with us Gretchen Wollert, a farmer, a rancher, an entrepreneur, a historian, and an educator with degrees in English and history. Hello, Gretchen. Welcome to the Sutlifian Report.
Thank you so much for having me.
Your book, Born to Fight, Lincoln and Trump, was recently censored and banned from advertising on Facebook. And from listening to you talk earlier, I learned that even the picture is a problem. Could you please share what their reasoning was for your book being seen as too dangerous to advertise?
Well, we don't know what the reasoning was because my publisher, Cedar Fort, had asked for a review of the content and why it was being denied and being censored on Facebook. And Facebook just constantly denied even explaining. So I assume because I am not able to boost it or advertise myself either, it contains the word Trump. It contains the word fight, which recently has become politically incorrect, or at least insightful, with a C, not an S. And it also contains the word Lincoln, which to some on the left, absurdly, it has become a dirty word as well. So I believe that the censorship of big tech today is completely running amok. And the fact that so many in mainstream media, even the House of Representatives, are seeking to completely cancel President Trump from even the last 4 years, trying to eliminate that from our historical record. And I believe there is a bill in the House that, if passed, or I'm not sure how far it will get, but they don't want the word Trump labeling any national park or statues or being used in any way. They really do fear Donald Trump because of how powerful he is. I believe how he showed all of us who voted for him that there really is freedom of speech in America today, that we can stand up and fight for the America that is traditional values and Judeo-Christian founding and all of those things that are being censored and canceled out of our culture, or attempting to be so by the left and the Democrats.
Wow. Your book puts together two very independent men who were in and of themselves fighters long before they entered politics. Lincoln fought for what he believed was right, such as the abolishment of slavery, and Trump fought to put America first, something Lincoln would have been shocked to hear, maybe turn over in his grave to hear these days. What motivated you to write this book?
Well, you're right. Abraham Lincoln, I think, would have been shocked that it has gotten this far. But you know, America today and its divisiveness is very similar to what Lincoln had to deal with back then. I don't think the absurdity of the Democrats and the left was a surprise to him. In fact, in my book, he does talk a lot about what they were like back then, very similar to today. What started me on this comparing Abraham Lincoln and Donald Trump was the 2015 primaries and the 2016 election. I have always loved Abraham Lincoln and studying him, learning everything I can about him didn't occur until really after I started the research for this book. I knew Abraham Lincoln probably more the myth than the real person, but there were similarities after the election that really caught my attention between Donald Trump and Abraham Lincoln. First of all, they're very tall, 6'4". They say, well, Trump is only 6'3". Well, he's also 70 plus years old, and you tend to shrink a little as you age. They both had 10-year-old sons when they were elected. Their first ladies were completely ostracized and criticized by the media of the day, as well as the Washington elites. And just some of those kind of, I call them fun fact similarities, got me to thinking, and I thought, really? And it was incredible that could Donald Trump and Abraham Lincoln truly be similar in any way? And I started digging deep, and it really is amazing how these two leaders and presidents and just all facets of their life. My book is 10 chapters, and each chapter pertains to a different topic. The very first chapter is about their ancestry and where they came from. The similarities are truthfully on hundreds of levels. This is not satire. You'd have to read it to believe it. There's a chapter on the faith of both of them. There's a chapter on how common men they really are. Donald Trump, yes, he's a billionaire, but truthfully, he has a connection with the common man, just like Abraham Lincoln did in his day. Their families and how they raise children. Keeping it real is about the honesty of both presidents. The fact that whatever comes out of their mouth truly is something they believed in. That's and they both believe they were self-made men. I think on two levels, everybody understands Abraham Lincoln came from nothing. We know that. He was from a poor farm family. Donald Trump, how could he be a self-made man? You'll have to read the chapter because it truly is a lot of similarity. And they were absolutely masters of communication. I discovered in 3 years all of this. I just became immersed in researching not just Abraham Lincoln, but Donald Trump. And the similarities just kept piling up. And as a matter of fact, I had to stop because it was time to get all of that research into book form, into 10 readable chapters. So there are many more similarities that aren't in the book, but it really is amazing. I just kept going, and they are actually two of a kind on many levels.
I remember reading about Lincoln doing things to improve his speech, and it was that's a ways back. We're both former educators, and so today children are being told things like President Trump was a racist, there was an attack, some vandalism at the Lincoln Memorial, slight bit of vandalism. Does your book claim Trump or Lincoln were racists?
Absolutely not. The fact that the left throws the race label out to Donald Trump is simply because it was done to Lincoln as well. It's a false narrative. It's a label they want to stick because they just do that when they can't legitimately make an argument against what the men themselves are proposing. And I have no doubt that Abraham Lincoln believed that Black lives mattered. And I know that Donald Trump believes that Black lives matter. And the fact that they're racist is completely false. It's just a narrative, and it's just to shut people up.
You come from an education background, like we were just saying. I retired after teaching for 20 years. So what did you put in your book that you feel we should be teaching every student in schools today about President Lincoln?
Well, the truth. Our schools need to get back to true American history instead of the revisionist stuff that they are coming out with on so many levels. And it has been happening for decades. The schools have been using textbooks that try to alter history to fit something that they want it to say instead of what it really did say. Abraham Lincoln was absolutely connected to and loved the founders of America. And of course, Donald Trump is very patriotic. Abraham Lincoln believed that the Declaration of Independence was such a vital document in our history. And he knows in that we didn't begin perfectly as a nation, but we did the best we could. Instead of focusing on the founders being slave owners, and that completely delegitimizes what they have done, like the left wants us to believe. Abraham Lincoln knew they were very practical men. They were very wise men. In his Gettysburg Address, he said, our nation is founded on the proposition that all men are created equal. Well, that proposition, in order to get the slaveholding colonies of the South to sign the Declaration of Independence and to join them and fight the British and win the Revolutionary War, they needed their help. So one war at a time. And then Lincoln in the Civil War finally winning that and passing the 13th Amendment. Lincoln actually turned that proposition into a reality. And history is so critical for our young people knowing what is great about America, teaching us patriotism. The connection is lost when history is not taught. Abraham Lincoln knew that. He said the purpose of education should be so that everyone can learn to read in order to be able to study, first of all, the Bible, and also study our nation's history and the history of other nations in order to appreciate our free institutions. And he was spot on. If we don't teach our young people the truth and real American history, how it happened, then we are losing that connection. Ronald Reagan put it best when he said, we are just a generation away from losing America because of not teaching our generations true American history.
Well, thank you, Gretchen. I definitely have to have you back. We'll see how things go. I'm going to do what I can to promote your book. And I'm just saying you cannot stop the fight. This is the beginning.
Yes.
Where it's just the beginning.
Really is. We all need to stand and fight. I believe Donald Trump showed us all that we have free speech, that we need to stand up and actually fight. And it is absolutely important. We cannot allow socialism to take over our nation and completely just do the absurd, horrific things that can come from that.
Well, thank you and God bless. We'll have to have you back.